Hello, I'm Barbara Lucas, and welcome to the Green Room, a collaboration between Washtenaw County and Ann Arbor's Community Television Network. Our guest today is Dan Ezekiel, a retired science teacher and a lifelong leader in our environmental community, including outgoing chair of the local Sierra Club. He's here to talk with us about waste reduction. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Barbara. Thank you for having me.
Last month, we spoke with Dan about why we make so much trash and what we can do about it. We highlighted September's Trash Talk Tour, which was organized by the Washtenaw Zero Waste Coalition. It included stops at Michigan Stadium, as well as numerous businesses and nonprofits. There was so much to talk about, we couldn't fit it all in. So this month's segment continues the conversation. So another thing related to costs, related to waste, is labor. And at the stadium, that was mentioned in terms of comparing what they do at Ohio State University with their recyclables and compostables. Do you remember what he was talking about there?
Yes, he said that Ohio State actually was ahead of us in adopting a zero waste goal at their stadium, but where their waste goes is to a prison yard and prisoners sorted out. Did you catch that he said at the Michigan Stadium, 12 University of Michigan employees go to the compost center the next day and go through and take the contamination out of the compost?
Yeah, he said they spend the whole day, and they aren't volunteers. That costs a lot of money. Yeah.
Right.
Another factor that was frequently mentioned at the stadium is the business model concept that, the stadium has to be profitable, that some things are more necessary to continue because they pay the bills. For instance, when the question was brought up of whether or not people could bring in water containers that are empty and show them, as they come in, and then refill them at the drinking fountains, the comment was made that it would be a problem because bottled water selling it is very lucrative. And indeed, we're recycling those bottles. But as we were talking about earlier, if we reduce the need for creating that waste in the first place and then having to process it, ship it and process it into new items, it's a lot more efficient to just drink out of the drinking fountain. That business model concept came up a lot during the whole Trash Talk tour. For instance, at the Pto Thrift shop, she was telling me a lot about the issue of there's too many clothes that are brought in that can't be sold. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, that was one of my take homes from the Trash Talk tour as well. I love the PTO Thrift shop. I'm a retired Ann Arbor teacher, and my classes took many field trips that were paid for by the PTO Thrift shop, and I also donate there a lot. She said that many items that are brought in, they can't sell. And her guideline was, if you wouldn't wear it out in public, please don't donate it because nobody else wants to wear it either. And I learned that they don't sew buttons on, they don't try to get stains out. Anything that's stained or missing a button or has a rip is just going to go into the sort of international textile market. And she said, this is really a headache for the PTO Thrift shop. They actually lose money from their business model when they have to handle the textiles, the 65% of the textiles that are donated there that they can't sell themselves.
Yeah, to be clear, we want to make sure people know that the PTO Thrift shop is not throwing clothes into the trash that aren't sellable. They are, as you said, they are giving them to a textile recycler. But as you said, the labor that the thrift store has to pay, they're losing money on it. So there are alternatives, like people could fix things more often. They could sew buttons on, or the dry cleaners near me fix zippers for very inexpensively. So I take a lot of things to be repaired there. I work really hard at getting stains out. There's things people can do to avoid having to get rid of something that could be used again. also, I want to mention that at the drop-off center, they have a bin that you can put things in that they indeed, Textile Recyclers take the stained and ripped things.
You will recall when we were kids, and our shoes wore out, our parents didn't buy us new shoes. They took them and got them resold at the shoe repair store. I was thinking the other day that when I was in school, it was perfectly acceptable to have a patch sewed on your clothes. Everybody had little patches sewed on their clothes. It was before the explosion of clothing that was made overseas where the workers are paid barely anything. You know, in so many ways our lives have changed because of globalization, but that's one of them, is that it became so cheap to get new clothes or new shoes that and people became so much busier that kind of went out of style. But maybe it's something we need to rethink and go back to an older way of doing. I mean, it's fashionable to wear purposely ripped up jeans. So so why can't you wear jeans that have a rip that has a patch on them?
Good point. Yeah, the idea that we're too busy, sometimes I wonder about that because we watch a lot of screen time, TV and movies that we could be like, I used to darn socks. There's a lot of things that I could be doing that we've just lost. There's not too many people that know how to darn socks anymore.
We could probably even darn socks or put a patch on while we were watching the screen,
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Multitasking, yeah.
So food waste was another thing that came up a lot. The stadium does a great job of taking their food that is not been served to the public and giving it to food pantries. But then there's an awful lot that gets thrown away. And also at the Allen Elementary where I went, that was another stop on the Trash Talk tour. And they said, there was a person there attending who said that she was quite disappointed that the kindergartners and the fifth graders all get the same amount of food dished out to them and they throw away so much of it. And so it's a ubiquitous problem in our country. Wondering if costs come into play. Is food cheaper in our country? I was reading on the internet that the proportion of our budget that goes to food is less in our country than pretty much any other country in the world. And we don't value food like we used to when we had to grow it ourselves. And it was really, precious.
Oh, food waste, where to even begin? So first of all, on the Trash Talk tour, we visited the old Ann Arbor landfill. So it produces methane, which is a very serious greenhouse gas, 34 times the greenhouse effect of carbon dioxide. What's producing the methane is organics, food and yard waste and so on that were thrown in the landfill back in the day. That's part of the problem. So school lunches are part of the Department of Agriculture's Farm Bill. School lunches are a price support for farmers to get a minimum price for their products. So that's why kindergartners get as much as fifth graders, because the basic driver there isn't how much food does a kindergartner need in their body. It's how can the Department of Agriculture support the prices for commodities for farmers. There's so many aspects of this. The book Drawdown, that tries to sort of prioritize the most important climate change drivers, puts food waste way up there. I believe in the top 5. And then think, and there's so many aspects to this. So the problem of food waste has many, many, many tentacles. And if we wasted less, if we ate things that were in season, then our local supply would supply more of our needs. And then you don't have all that transportation. So yeah, food waste is a gigantic part of the issue.
Like, it reminds me of one time I was talking to a foreign student, and she said she was shocked by the University of Michigan's food plan because people could eat as much food as they want and throw away as much food as they wanted. They didn't weigh it. They just had, one fee for the semester. And she felt that that is what caused so much food to be wasted. And that's a policy at the institutional level, which, there's barriers, there's reasons why they do it the way they do. But, when you go to the University of Michigan cafeterias for the hospital, you pay by weight. A couple of stops on the Trash Talk tour helped in that respect. Some the bulk food by the pound, and also the food co-op where you can portion out just what you think you're going to be needing. Some of those things like the grains and the nuts and such do go bad. And so it's great to be able to just buy the portions that you need. So that's a really nice aspect.
One of the women who presented it by the pound said something that I thought was really interesting, and I hadn't really thought about this. If you find a recipe online that uses a spice that you don't ordinarily use, but you want to make the recipe that way, you can go to buy the pound. You can bring your own bag. If what you need is a teaspoon of this spice and you're never going to use it again, as far as you know, then you buy a teaspoon of spice and you pay 3 cents for it.
Yeah. And speaking of buying just what you need, there's the store called Bring Your Own Container, and it allows you to fill up your container with laundry detergent or all kinds of different soaps and things for around the house. And they also sell a lot of items that can be used over and over. So that's the reduction side, so you have less use of paper towels and all kinds of things in your home. And one thing I wanted to bring up in terms of scalability that I love about your Trash Talk tour is that the more people learn about these things, the more the prices might go down. The more we get people going, oh my gosh, this product is really great. I never use paper towels anymore.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Scaling things up is what makes them affordable. I went to Bring Your Own Container yesterday, and I had a great talk with the owner, Emma Haas, who's a young person who just wanted to have this kind of a store. She started with pop-ups, and finally she ended up in the space on East Liberty where Antelope Antiques used to be. Mm-hmm. And I have always, all my life, used Dr. Bronner soap, which I love, and it's made out in California. And she persuaded me to try this other soap that's very analogous. It's a Castile soap, and it's called Tiani, and it's made right here in the Ann Arbor area by Violet Whitney, who was once my student, out at the Whitney farm, which is close to town. And so it seems to be basically the same product, a little cheaper, and it didn't get brought here in a semi truck from California. It came from here in Washtenaw County, which I thought was just wonderful.
Common Cycle's another stop on the tour that I wanted to mention. They do amazing things in terms of helping people learn how to fix their bikes. And we've been talking about pricing influencing how much people will be willing to fix stuff. Well, in the case of bicycles, it really does pay to fix them instead of buy something new. And they help you learn how to do it. And there's not a fee, there's donations accepted, of course. And they also have sales once a year, at least once a year. But one interesting thing they told me was that they are in talks with the University of Michigan because the landscaping crew comes up with something like 300 bikes that are abandoned every year by students. And the problem is they sit out and rust, and they're trying to wait for students to claim them. And so Common Cycle's trying to figure out how they can store them or something until they indeed are available to fix and give away. But it's an important thing that people are doing, fixing bikes.
Oh my gosh. I want to give a huge shout out to Clark McCall and his Common Cycle crew. First of all, I learned something on the tour that I didn't know, which was that they take practically every bicycle part, even tubes with punctures in them. And then they patch those tubes and they put them in the bikes they sell.
So yeah, a lot of the things that happened during the Trash Talk Tour didn't necessarily make financial sense. Like the stadium said that what they do costs them money, and it's only a drop in the bucket in terms of what the entire university produces in terms of their trash. But they felt that it's very important because they're the front porch of the university. It's a teachable moment. There's thousands and thousands of people that go there and see all that recycling and composting in action. And it also reminded me of the pilot program that the city is doing in terms of the takeout containers that are washable. And I don't know that that's like going to be a big profit maker for anyone anytime soon, but that it's a teachable moment type of thing. This is the right thing to do. We need to keep working on this, seeing how we can go about making it more, efficient. And
Well, it's a cool idea, and there are a lot of kinks to be worked out in that system, and of course it'll be costly at first. The prototype is always expensive. Think about solar panels. Solar panels were invented to power space satellites. Today there are solar panels in calculators at the end cap at Kmart, that the solar panels probably cost 5 cents. So everything, when you start it, is expensive. And like you said, when you scale it up, this is the beauty of capitalism. Capitalism is a double-edged sword. It has its problems and it has amazing abilities and powers. And once you scale something up, it becomes less expensive. Ann Arbor, we pride ourselves on being on the cutting edge of things, and we don't always do things the cheapest way in the short run. And it's something I love about Ann Arbor is that there are hundreds of people in Ann Arbor that are trying all kinds of innovative things, and some of them are going to work, and some of them are going to pay off, and some of them won't. But if nobody tries, we'll never make a change.
the Trash Talk Tour was definitely a very hopeful and educational event, and I hope you do it again. Are you planning on doing it again next year?
Yes, ma'am. And an exciting thing about that is that by next year, Recycle Ann Arbor's new materials recovery facility, or renovated materials recovery facility, will be in operation. Knock on wood, but that's the plan. And so people will be able to see that facility, and that's going to be a state-of-the-art recycling sorting facility, and really looking forward to showing that off at the Trash Talk Tour, and would love to have suggestions from people about what else they want to see on next year's tour. There's so many things that we left off. We didn't have the Kiwanis sale. We didn't have House into Home, which is a really cool, which is a really cool institution. There are probably many other places that we could feature.
Yeah, Make It Works, where they fix things.
Sure, the scrap box.
Yes, yep. Great. Well, the website to your Trash Talk Tour is what?
It is trashtalktour.org. Okay. And we're keeping it up, and it's very interactive. We love to have suggestions and comments and questions. We're going to put a photo archive up from the first Trash Talk Tour shortly. We'll put a link to this show on there. So yeah, trashtalktour.org. Please come join the community.
Great. Well, thank you so much for doing it, Dan, and for being here with us today. It's been really great.
Oh, Barbara, thank you so much for having me, and let's do it again next year.
Great. For this and all our Green Room shows, go to washtenaw.org/greenroom.